Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa has apologized about the latest wave of power cuts. This comes as Eskom instituted stage 3 load shedding from yesterday until Monday following a loss of generation capacity now at the Koeberg Unit 2 and 2 units at Kusile. Joining us now is independent energy analyst Hilton Trollip. Hilton, good to have you and thank you very much for your time. Should we believe that something is being done to end load shedding? It's now the third time, at least, in the last 30 days that we are in this situation.
Yes, good afternoon, Thabo. Thanks for inviting me to share my views. Thabo, there's nothing new that I have got to tell you, but that doesn't mean that it's not newsworthy. The basic situation is that with our power system, the South African power system, we have load shedding when essentially we need more electricity than there is available capacity on the grid. And on a normal day, a normal week, basically we're living on the edge. The amount of capacity available and the demand are very close to each other. So if everything goes well, and Eskom, it's a mixture of good management, really hard, consistent work, and luck, then there's no load shedding. However, when you're living on the edge, and you have, I always call it, these 80 really big machines. The 80 really big machines are big coal-fired generators and nuclear generators. Most of them are really old, and we've got some new ones, Kusile and Medupi, but they were unreliably, there's been trouble with them from when they were designed, the construction, and then putting them into power. So all of our power stations are essentially unreliable, and also because of the years of load shedding, they've been hammered. And also Eskom as an organization, the staff, the structures have been hammered. And congratulations to them. They've regrouped, they've reorganized, they've got some new policies around how they're managing things. But what they can't get around is there are only so many power stations. Yeah. Eskom can't get around that because in order for us to have sufficient reserve margin, it's called system reserve margin, we need to build new power stations. Yeah. This is well known. It's in government plans. We haven't built them. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy has had these so-called bidding rounds. They've tried to get new power stations, but not very hard because it's been renewable energy, which can sort this problem out completely. Yes. And they haven't tried, so we're sitting with the same amount of capacity on average on the grid as 8 years ago. And we're sitting with the same demand, and we're living on the edge, and this is going to happen. And I wanted to tell you that Eskom's own data, they issue a system status report every week. And in that system status report, which you can download from the National Transmission Company, Eskom website, every week has got a color showing, it says the likely risk scenario. And in week 1 of January 2025, just about every week has got either a red or an orange. So load shedding is expected, and we're lucky if we don't have it. Yeah. And until we build new power stations, there is one other thing. There's a big argument by some people in Eskom that somehow the old unreliable stations that were planned for decommissioning can somehow be brought to the status of fairly well-maintained, reliable stations. That might be possible, but for a long time, people in the know have been saying that's not possible. And we do know that they were meant to decommission stations, and they're now delaying the decommissioning. And so we're keeping these old stations on the system. Yeah. We're not building new ones. And that's why I said, I've got nothing new to tell you.
Yeah. Speaking of not building new ones, I mean, the Unit 2 of Koeberg was taken offline for maintenance in December 2023, brought back last year at the end of the year. Around December, we are led to believe that that maintenance would have given it a new lifespan of at least another 20 years. What is happening with that unit now?
Well, the thing is, it's I think it's 40 years old already. So it was meant to be decommissioned. And because of political pressure, because of specific lobbies in government and in the DMRE, they're trying to extend the life. But Koeberg has got an increasingly history of being unreliable. Both of those generators, there are two there, each one's about 1,000 megawatts. They're often offline. And if you look at the past 3 or 4 years, I think they've probably been offline more than online. So the kind of truth speaking, we're living through the inevitability of trying to make things, old things, behave like new things. And instead of decommissioning them and building new power stations, because I believe there's a very, very influential coal lobby and nuclear lobby inside government. I believe that very influential people own huge amounts of coal under the ground. And if we start decommissioning our coal-fired power stations, their coal is not worth anything anymore.
Yeah.
So they're going to be sweating, trying to get all the coal sold they can. The nuclear industry, it's incredibly expensive, these life extensions. So a lot of people have made a lot of money, and money speaks, big government contracts, etc., etc. And that's the history of South Africa. Those are the technologies and the interests that establish themselves inside government in the country. And unfortunately, bringing the new in change is difficult because it disrupts existing interests.
So, I mean, there are, of course, arguments that says, as you put it, the Unit 1, Unit 2 have been exceptionally unreliable. There are those who are saying, well, renewable sources are also not particularly reliable, intermittent, if you want to put it at best. So what power source will ensure continuous electricity generation then?
So, I'm very familiar with these arguments. So, intermittence, renewables are by design. They're designed to do what they do. So, solar panels produce power when the sun is shining. And the thing is, a total country system has to be made up of a number of technologies. You start with what you've got. We start with all of our coal, with Koeberg, and then you put renewables on. And at the same time, you put storage on, and you also put gas peakers on, and you just use them for the peakers. You also use some gas to back up the renewables when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing. And it's not rocket science. But the people and it's been proven, there are systems that often run on only renewables. And then when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, they bring in the gas. Yeah. And that's just how you do it. It's not rocket science. Yeah. So
one will argue that, well, Hilton is lobbying for renewables when others are saying, although a long-term operation program like that of a nuclear build might have an initial upfront investment that is a little bit high, but in the long term, the benefits make them indispensable.
So, government's own Energy Generation Expansion Plan, the RP 2019, has lots of renewables being built, gas being built, and the coal being decommissioned. They've modeled that system each year as this transition takes place. I don't have to lobby for it. It's been agreed that it needs to be done. We're just not doing it. So I can point to the plan. You can go, there's a website, type in IRP 2019, go and look on page 42. There's a table there, and it says what makes utter sense to be done, that a mixture, government plus Eskom modelers have modeled the system and shown that it works. There's no argument that stands any water, that coal is better than gas, is better than renewable. Nothing's better than anything else. As we go through the transition, it makes sense for the energy mix to change as the situation changes. As we move over, renewables have become much cheaper than coal. They didn't used to be. There's been a massive change. So that's what's changed. The other thing that's changed is emissions, but even not counting emissions, climate change, etc., just on pure cost, the least cost mix going forward involves building a lot of renewables in the government's plan, not Hilton's lobbying at all. And the truth of the matter is that we've had bidding rounds 5, 6, and 7. Each one, we've gone out, I'm saying we, South Africa, me, the DMRE, us, our government. We've gone out and we've said, please will people bid, for example, one round, 5.5 gigawatts, 5,500 gigawatts. This is what we need. And then it's so poorly managed that what we get in is 1.2 out of 5.5. That's a matter of historical fact. That's nobody lobbying about nothing. So we're failing to implement our own plans.
Yeah.
And and I feel sorry for the Eskom guys, because it's not the people that are meant to be getting the bidding rounds that are sitting there, because obviously your average citizen, when you don't get power, they blame it on Eskom. And Eskom, of course, has to be politically diplomatic. I mean, the Eskom board is appointed by the minister, and the ministers have to get on, and you don't get anywhere if you start pointing fingers in cabinet. But if you look purely technically, which is what I do, I've done energy modeling for 30 years. If you just look technically, we're not implementing our own plan, and that's it. So, when we start successfully running our own bidding rounds and getting a whole lot of, it turns out that there's also some new coal, there's also some gas in the RP 2019.
Right.
It's not happening either.
Yeah.
Nothing, no new power.
Yeah. That's it. Let's leave it there. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Independent energy expert there, Hilton Trollip, there, giving us his analysis of us not implementing our own plan that has been put in place. Now,